Morning, sports investors. Welcome back, Betting Public Sports Show. I'm your beloved host, Fame Rothstein, and we're sitting here with a special guest, former Major League Baseball scout. Let me tell you how I found this guy. I was, just scouring through a couple Facebook groups, and I saw some of his YouTube channel stuff, and he's interviewing Major League ball players. And, he's wearing a suit. He's cleaned up and everything. I'm like, I've never seen him on TV. Who is this cat? He wasn't interviewing like September call-ups and, guys with, who had a cup of coffee in the majors. He was interviewing like some heat, like, real players, all-star caliber players that you've heard of. And I'm like, who is this guy? So I looked him up, and got in contact with us, and he decided to spend some time with us today. I present to you, without further ado, the great Coach Michael Mayden. How you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing great. And you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for spending some time with us.
I feel very deeply honored that you reached out to ask me to be a part of this show.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'm very gracious. Go ahead and just kind of tell us about your history and how you got into being a Major League scout.
Well, I've been coaching baseball for 43 years now.
Oh, wow.
I started back in 1980 as an inner city coach with youth inner city African-American baseball players. And we kind of grew into what we call tournament ball. Today they call it travel ball.
Oh,
but we were ahead of all across the country to play baseball. We were in white cities, white tournaments where we were on black faces in town. So that was experience for itself, coming from inner city and baseball fields that are quote park district fields that are not baseball fields, but we had to play on them. And we go and play on fields with lights and well taken care of fields. This was, these guys major leagues. And then from there I moved up, and I had ball players, during that time there was good quality black ball players in the city, and the scouts started coming in and recognizing those ball players, and we had some guys drafted, and a few went on to the major leagues, and several went on to play in the minor leagues. And I got to know the scouts. I got to know the scouts as I moved up, and we got into American Legion ball and traveling all over the country. And I was asked by one of the scouts if I would scout for them. So that's how I got into scouting. People ask, well, how do you get into scouting, this and that? There's many different ways you got to know somebody, former major league ball player. But I was asked by the scouts, one of the scouts to scout for them, and I went on to scout for 5 major league teams: the Mets, the Expos, the Pirates, the Royals, and the White Sox.
Nice.
And along that way, of course, you meet and make friends. Funny part about it, and I tell my kids, one of my speeches, you always put out your best because you never know who's watching.
Absolutely.
I come to find out when a friend of mine, Leroy Franklin, scouting for the Mets, who also was the head baseball coach at Simeon High School, legendary program, and wound up in the Illinois High School Coach Hall of Fame. But he brought me on through Phil Fabian to scout with the Mets. Now at that time, I was just doing my thing and good ball players. But come to find out, when they were talking about bringing me on with the Mets, you had some other guys with the Tigers and this and that was going to ask me to scout for them. They know Mayden is my guy. So, you just never know people watching you when you don't know they're watching you. And that's how the doors open up, and I went on to be involved with baseball and scouting. Then eventually I started a college program, baseball program, never had a program, Olive Harvey College in Chicago. I started that program in 2000. I started that program in 2000.
Okay.
And I was there in 2005, a little politics and Chicago too, but we won't get into that part. And I've been around baseball ever since. I've seen guys. I went from a African-American team to an integrated team with African-Americans, whites, black, Hispanics. And then some years we had all white kids, believe it or not. And, we're traveling across the country and people scratching their head, how these 2 black coaches got these white kids. And the thing about it, they got along like peas in a pot. You think these guys, they was characters on the road. It was nonstop laughter You had your white jokes, your black jokes, your Spanish jokes, but it was all in fun. And you know what they say, what happens on the road, stay on the road. So I can't tell some of the jokes that went on. You had a time for these. Well, I tell you what, I can tell it and get away with it. We had one of the black guys would tell a Hispanic guy, a Mexican, all the Mexicans are mechanics and this and that. And he came back on, we on the bus, so we ride together. And he came back and said, well, all the brothers know how to cook chicken. A different way, fried chicken, baked chicken, boiled chicken. The bus just laughing. So it was those kind of jokes that went on. And these guys, again, I was at one of my players. Actually, I officiated. I've been called into the ministry since that time. I officiated one of my players' weddings just this past Friday in Cancun, Mexico.
Oh, wow.
He invited me over. He's 53 years old now, and I coached him when he was 16. But we picked up, and some of my past players, we picked up right where we left off when he was 16 with the laugh, the joke, and what happened on the road trips, and it was a beautiful time. So coach has been like family to me. Yeah, I'm like family.
Nice.
The weddings, the funerals, all the things. I still in touch with them. So that's a brief history of my career. I'm not going on. I can write a book, which I may do one day because there's some ups and downs of being a coach that people don't know.
Oh, I understand. Like I told you when I first met you a couple months ago, I'm pretty sure I umpired you in a game in a tournament in Cincinnati. You just look so familiar, like this guy who was the head coach of the Chicago RBI team that came to this big tournament in Cincinnati. And either he's you or you guys are dead ringers for each other. You look, bald, dark-skinned brother. You remind me of him. With the same build.
It might have been my twin. It might have been my twin brother, but he's not as cute as I am. I just want
to know. Okay. So let me ask you this. I gotta ask you this because it's a part of the show, and it's a kind of a feature of the show. You're a baseball guy. What's your favorite sunflower seeds?
I never thought about it. I've never thought about it. I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? I mean, do you eat just the originals, or do you try the other wild flavors?
No. The kids and all these different flavors. I'm into the originals.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I was gonna be disappointed if you said something like barbecue or salsa.
Yeah, I can't think of the names, but they got so many different names. No, basically some original sunflower seeds, and I'm happy.
Okay, good. You see these grown 50-year-old men eating dill pickle seeds, and I'm like, what the ranch? What's wrong with you?
Don't get me started.
Okay, so let me ask you. So, okay, who would you say some of the players that you've coached that came through, your program, whether summer ball or whatever college that went to the minors and/or majors?
Well, I had Luke Collier, who was drafted by the Pirates. Played with the Pirates, he played with the Phillies, he played with Milwaukee and a couple other teams. He was in the big leagues for a while. And then I had Neil Brown, who was played with the Kansas City Royals, made it to the big leagues. I had Xavier Burns, who was drafted by the Pirates. He played in the minor leagues. There are a couple more. Rod Walker, who was a fifth-round drafted by the Texas Rangers. And there are a couple more that lose my mind. But we had about 10, 12 ball players that range from major league to minor leagues. Not to mention, I would say countless hundreds. I would stop short of saying thousands that went on to play college baseball as a result of being a part of our program.
Nice. Okay, so let me ask you, what does take me from the scouting, take me from the scouting process from the first time you meet a kid or hear a kid until the draft or signing with college. First of all, how do you hear about the kid?
Well, it's many different ways. I mean, you're connected with the coaches, the high school coaches, summer league coaches, even the college coaches. You have that relationship. If they have a ball player, they'll mention that ball player. You come out and see him, or in my case, I was this kid, and again, we're going back over 20 years now, so some of the names elude me. But I kept hearing his name. He went to Mount Carmel High School. I can't think of the kid's name, but he's a black kid.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think. It's the Eugene McIntosh, I think might be his name now. But you kept hearing his name out there when you get in the baseball circle. So those are considered high-profile kids. So you make a priority to go see them. But I was one of those scouts. I tried to go find those ball players, what we call beat the sticks. Go out and find those ball players nobody knew about and bring them out there. Because the high-profile kids, everybody know about. They go have 10, 12 different scouts from different organizations at all of their games, and the majority of their games, and of course, the high school and summer season. So you find that's always, and sometimes you find a kid while you're looking at another kid. You find somebody else on that team that's just playing hard and you like them. And scouting is just like coaches. Sometimes some kids have talent and ability to just stand out and you know this ball player is going to be the real deal. But some guys, you just get an instinct on them. You see them when they're young. You see the potential there, though it's undeveloped, and you kind of keep track of them. You get a card on them. You have to fill out an information card. So you know their name, you know their address. You may call a high school or college coach or summer coach. Hey, you playing today, or how's this kid doing? So it's many different routes to finding ball players, but the key is you look for ball players that got that heart and that integrity that want, or you try to that want that's really hungry. Because some kids, now you got kids that just come up as privileged and they take for granted this is old to them and they don't work hard and they make their way through the system in the minor leagues and in college or high school because their parents got influence, their parents got money. Believe me, that makes a difference when you could donate to a high school program or you donate big dollars to a college program. You will be on the team and you will most likely be in the lineup. That's reality.
Absolutely. Now, you talked about money. You're coaching in the inner city of Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. I see the Chicago dog poster behind you there.
We're going to sponsors. There you go. Become
okay. So let me ask you, was it hard to, have players from the inner city ascend, throughout the baseball ranks, coming from, the inner city of Chicago, no, lack of financial resources, because baseball can get expensive in the summer.
Baseball can get expensive. It's very hard. That's the toughest challenge is finding funds, because basically when you say inner city kids, that's the code word for those that don't know, black kids. Black poor kids when you say inner city. I'm just keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. That's the code word for black inner city kids when you say black poor inner city kids, when you say inner city in a black neighborhood. So you find that a lot of these kids, we went on trips, they couldn't afford to go on trips. You're taking kids on trips, they couldn't pay the fee, and you tell them, look, just go in there, shut your mouth, don't tell nobody. And you're trying to make it work. You're trying to make it work any way you can from the financial standpoint. So that's a big challenge to finance, and it's hard as an inner city program to get sponsors because they don't look at you on the same level as they do as suburban programs. And their parents know companies and business that will give $5,000 and $10,000, and you trying to just merely get $50 or $100.
Right.
So it's hard, and you always get that myth that if you got 10 kids on the team and you charge $100, somebody sitting in the corner, 100 times tens of $1,000. He's getting over. He's getting over. You got them. If they don't realize, when you start you deal with these travel ball teams today, these kids pay $3,000-$4,000 to play baseball for the summer.
Yeah.
They had to get to the games on their own, travel from Cincinnati to New York or wherever on their own with their parents, pay for their own hotel. They had to buy their own food. When we traveled, everything, including transportation, was all inclusive. Mm-hmm. And somebody, you're getting over, he's stealing the money, this thing. I heard it all over. That's why now, when I hear people that run different organizations, they stealing money, they go in there seeing out, because when you sat in that seat, you understand. You understand. So you sit in that seat, people got their opinions, their thoughts of many things. But when you sit in that seat and you know what's going on with it, either your name is good or your name is bad, depending on who's speaking of you. Because everybody don't like you, everybody don't love you, everybody smiley face at your friends in life, let alone baseball. So yeah, being an inner city program was a big challenge. It was a big challenge, but I tell you what, I wouldn't change anything. You gave these kids, they've never been out of the city, a chance of a lifetime. I had one Hispanic kid. We're playing a night game in Lombard, which is a suburb of Chicago, with nice fields, dugouts, everything. Kid stood at the edge of the field. He said, wow, I never played a night game before. I thought I was in Wrigley Field. Mm-hmm. And he was just 16. So we got another kid, I guess I could drop names a little bit. Carl Bradshaw, I'll never forget this. He's on the Chicago Police Department now. He got about 20 years on the police department. When he was 16 years old, he went to I think we were in Euclid, Ohio, or Cincinnati. We was in Ohio anyway for a term, Toledo, Ohio, where we were. And he just stood at the edge of the field and just looked, and he said, "Wow, I've never been out of town for my life, and I'm out of town for baseball." So these are experiences. Guys, inner city kids that went on road trips with us, and we stayed in hotels, and they didn't know that the hotel bring your towels, the maids bring your towels. They clean the rooms. So this was just learning experience that we may take for granted, but for these kids, this was life-changing and impactful.
Yes. Yes. And what people don't know about these hotels, these ain't no like hole in the wall, Tom Bodette Motel 6 joints. These are like, $150, $200 a night hotels.
Well, back then, 20 years ago, they were 67. Well, we were in Cancun, my sister with me. I was telling her, we was talking about some of the road trips. She was just impressed with how the players in a adulthood still respect me and call me Mr. Mayden and all that. They're going one end out there, but she was just overwhelmed to respect these players still have me being grown. And I was talking about the road trips. And back then, in those days, the Days Inn and Holiday Inn, if you stayed at those, you were at what's considered classy hotels. Now you got a whole different brand of hotels, Embassy Suites and all that. But I had a thing. Cheap hotels, I didn't do.
Right.
We might have stayed in a few along the way, but I didn't do. And the hotel had to have a swimming pool because when I got sick of them, they'd be down at the pool all day and all night.
Right. So, okay, let's talk about a little more about the scouting process. Do you look for like prototypes? I mean, like if I'm looking at a picture, Devin Williams of the Brewers, Hunter Green of the Reds, these guys look like pitchers. 6'4", long arms. But Blake Snell, he's only 5'11", and he throws gas. So like, do you look for prototypes, or what do you look for? Let's start with pitchers.
Well, first of all, there's two levels of scout. Well, three, but two mainly. One is called amateur scouting, where you're scouting responsibility is to scout high school and college baseball players. And we say scout, basically go out and look for talent among the groups. And then you have what's called professional coverage. Those are the guys that cover the major league teams. They go from team to team. Same way right now, players' weakness, strength, for potential trades or when other team playing. Then you have international scouts. They go over to Latin countries and they scout with Latin players. But when you look at a player, start with a pitcher. We have the 5 tools of the game. You're breaking down and evaluating in that player. Now with a pitcher, you're looking at his velocity. The hard, of course, everybody likes hard throwers, but it's not always hard throwers because you can throw 100 miles out. You can throw 200 miles out. If it's a flat fastball, a hitter go time, and sooner or later he will start hitting it. Or if he's hit enough, he go hit it. So you're looking for the fastball. You're looking for the movement on the pitch. If it moves as opposed to coming straight at you. You're looking at his control, and then you're looking at his off-speed pitches. If he got the average fastball, I would say is 90 miles an hour. You got a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and you got about an 84-mile-an-hour curveball. Changeup, which is basically a fastball that you push farther back your hand and it comes out with the same motion, but it comes out slower. So while hitters, most kids don't recognize they get to college, they learn to pick the rotation up out the pitch your hand when you get there, and you learn to recognize this. You have another baseball right here. You learn to recognize a fastball rotation, a curveball rotation. So you learn to recognize the rotation of the pitch. So he takes that fastball and he gets it in the tip of the fingers. And we got a changeup. He takes that same pitch and just pushes it back farther in the sand, and it comes out same motion but slower. So you look at the velocity of the fastball, velocity of changeup, and you usually need at least 3 pitches and a curveball. So the curveball, fastball may be 90 miles an hour, which is hypothetical. The changeup may be 86 and the curveball may be 80. So when you vary those speeds, if I always tell my pitcher, if you give a hitter, if he sees 100 mile an hour or 90, we'll stick with 90 mile an hour fastball, and then you throw him an 86 mile an hour changeup, his timing is off. So when you come back with that 80 mile an hour curve, it looks like 100 miles an hour. It looks so much more quicker when you start varying your speeds and locations on the pitch. And some hitters are good outside hitters, which basically cover the outside corner of the plate well. And most hitters who in college anyway, they go opposite field. And major leagues, they tell you watch the major leagues, but I tell guys now you pick up a lot of bad habits watching major leagues. But nevertheless, if you're outside, again, those advanced scouts, advanced major league would be recording pitchers, what their weakness and their strengths are. So pitcher is good on the outside corner, and just say you got Jose Abreu or Derek Jeter, and they like the inside pitch, you go pitch them away when you get ahead of the count. If they like the outside pitch, you go pitch me. Some hitters like it high, some like it low, and some people like Barry Bonds, it don't matter what you throw them, they just natural hitters. They just natural hitters. So no matter what you throw them, you just hope you get them out.
Right. You hope you get them out and keep them in the park. As far as like an offensive player, how true is this, or is this still accurate? A college coach once told me, I was umping a game at his college, and he was in the in the stadium, and he told me one thing they look for is, can a player get to second base on his own? Either through slugging or stealing bases. Is that still something they do, or is that just something that college might have been looking for?
Well, you're always looking for speed, but when it comes to position players, you're looking for those that can swing the bat. Speed will determine you get to second base, either get a base hit and steal, because you ain't gonna get a guy running 7-4 go steal no base unless it's fast ball. So and most of the time when you got base stealers, you go back to the history of baseball, Vince Coleman and so on and so forth, Ricky Henderson, they were the brothers.
Right.
They were the brothers. The brothers are the ones that bring the entertainment to the game. And you don't see them in the game no more. Right. We live brothers for everything but us. I was having a talk with one of the Major League ball. She said, I interviewed Major League ball players. And you establish that, you establish that rapport with them. And they call me coach.
Right.
They call me coach. And but I was talking with a player one-on-one like we talking. Sometimes you have what's called off-the-record conversation with players. I was telling him, I said, there's no brothers in the game. There's no French brothers in the game, I should say. In other words, you ain't got no brothers in the major leagues just sitting on the bench, just not in the starting lineup. Check out all 30 major leagues, all the brothers on the lineup. And I pointed out to him, I said, all the brothers are the stars of the game.
Right.
You look at them, they the stars of the game. Ain't no, Andre Dawson,
right,
star of the game. And most of the brothers is on most of the major leagues wind up making all-star teams because they the stars. They don't want them if they ain't the stars, and they get fast. They the entertainment, but they go balance it out. It used to be with the white players, not Major League Baseball. It's the Latin players are taking over the game, and even they pushing the white players out of the game because most of the team, I'm gonna leave that subject alone. That's another show.
I understand.
But yeah, so they look for the speed and other people.
Okay, yeah, the audio is kind of jumping. I apologize. So, but what do you think is one of the hindrances to black players getting into the higher levels of baseball?
Well, I have two opinions of it. Number one, everybody accused Major League Baseball of being racist and not bringing in black players. But it's a chain reaction because if you go having coach high school ball, if you got blacks on a high school team, it's either all black school or that black player is the designated pinch runner late in the game. And there's only one, no more than two in the game.
Right.
On the team, I'm sorry. So on a high school level, you're not producing black players because they're not playing on the high school level. If they're not playing on a college level, it's because they're not quality black players coming from the high school level to the college of the HBCs, historically black college, and your historically black college is not black college baseball no more. It's everything but us. Another show, another time. I don't know how much time you got, but so when it's time to draft, they don't have a pool to draft black ball players because they're not getting them out to college. They're not getting them out to high school. And and then there's this thing that the scouts say that the black players are undeveloped. They're raw, which means they may have the talent and ability, but if you draft them, they see the talent and ability, but it's going to take them 2 to 3 years or maybe 4 years in the minor leagues just to get them to the point where we can classify them as legitimate major league players. And then they got to spend another 2 to 3 years trying to make a major league team.
Right.
So that's why, subject that we wasn't going to bring up for this show, maybe another show, that's why we attempted to bring back a version of Negro League Baseball. And to have that farm system where players that were under-recruited, not given a chance to play on high school, college teams, and feel they have the talent ability to continue to play baseball and we could develop it. Now, for full disclosure, we did bring that league back temporarily, but a lot of the funding sources that we had reached out to and people that made commitments to us did not come through. So we had to fold the league. And again, once again, people, we stole the money, this and that, all that. I told you, I'm used to that. We did not, the sources that made commitments to us did not come through. So we had to fold the league. Now we're working on coming back in a new form, shape, and fashion, which I'll say that part for another day. But it disturbs me. I have full credentials. I may not need to say this on air for Major League ballparks. So I can go into the locker room and talk to players, go on the field, this and that. And I sit there and I see one or two of us at most on most teams. That's on the inside. And I know we can do better than that if we just get our own league, develop our own players, and then force Major League Baseball to say, here's a crop of ball players that can play on your level. And if they're talented enough, one thing about it, they will go for them. They will go for them. So, it's a lot of work ahead of us. And, there's a lot of black ball players, professional baseball players, that should be embracing something like this. There's a lot of black businesses. And I understand, they shy when you start saying black league and this and that, they shy away from that because it's not politically correct.
Right.
But it's reality. It's reality. We need a league that's going to develop and give a player 2, 3, 4, 5 years, a kid that couldn't make a 6, and I've seen plenty of 16, 17-year-old kid that's good and talent, but could not make his high school team or did not want to play on his high school team because it was all white and he didn't feel comfortable. We need that to get these players in a mindset that they can play on the next level. Guys that got cut from college teams, not because they weren't good, but or I experienced some guys in my days, coach, where they went to white schools, made the team as the last players on the team, but they sat on the bench all year.
Right.
So we need this developmental league where these players go and play and have opportunity to play, and not limited to just black, but it needs to focus around developing black players. So we're working on that. But that's another show. But just want to throw that little nugget out there. It's a reason, and I don't want to. Race has a part in it, but I don't want to call it racism. The reason why we got to force their hand and present to them a market of players that they can draft and bring to the big league. And then if they don't respond to that, then we cry, why not?
Right. Right. I like that. We need more, to see more players and playing regularly, and, playing against heat, because like you said, with these inner city teams, kid might hit a ball 450 feet in high school, but then he goes to college. He's never seen anything like that he's going to face. And he needs to see that regularly. And, really it's starting at 10 years old, not just in high school and college. You need to start seeing that regularly. So I'm definitely with that. But speaking of, I'll tell you what, because Zoom is kicking me out here real soon because I only got the basic plan here. So some of that stuff that you talked about, huh? Okay, yeah, some of that stuff you talked about that you wanted to save to another day. Can we set that that interview for hey, are you there? Yeah, Coach.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, looks like you got knocked off a little bit there. There's a storm around here, so it's probably knocking off the feed. But I tell you what, some of that stuff that you did you want to kind of talk about for another show, another time. Can we set Can I hit you up later today? We set up that another time to kind of get into some of that other stuff, the heavier stuff you want to get into.
That's fine. I enjoyed this.
I appreciate it, Coach. And so again, we want to thank Coach Michael Mayden for spending some time with us today. We're going to talk to him again soon on here to kind of talk about some of the deeper stuff that he wanted to talk about getting
Stay tuned.
yes, about getting black players to the higher levels of baseball. But Coach, like I said, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I definitely enjoyed this. And we'll talk soon. But you want to drop anything before you go?
Well, let me just say this, just so people know. I see people as people. I don't see white, black, but I don't forget when I look in the mirror what I look like, who I am, that I'm a black man, and I'm concerned about my people. And on part two, we're going to talk about this. The NFL got the first woman coach, first woman official. NBA got theirs, and Major League Baseball got theirs, but none of them black.
Right.
Next show.
Right, especially that. Yeah, you're right. That especially that NFL thing. Another thing we're gonna talk about is that umpire down in that college umpire who called that strike 3. I've heard his story.
I was just looking at that footage before we went on air.
Exactly, I've heard his story, and I see what he did. That's just me speaking as an umpire, though. But because I want to talk about that because that's something that you kind of you deal with as a black umpire. So we're gonna definitely talk about that as well.
40 years of coaching, I've seen it on a regular basis against us with white umpires.
So see, there you go. There you go. So yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about this. So, but again, thanks for your time, Coach Mayden. I'll hit you up here soon, and hopefully we can get that in the next week or so.
Okay, I enjoyed that. We might have to make this a regular week.
It sounds good to me. I'll put this on. This will be on YouTube here real soon in the next couple hours. So, but thanks for your time, Coach.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Take care.